Without a doubt, he will go down into the annals of history as the greatest wrestler of all time. I'm talking about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I'm Todd Tanner. This is Wrestling News Now. Before I get started on tonight, if you happen to be passing by this channel, would you please hit like and subscribe? I would greatly appreciate it. Now let's get down to the topic of discussion. I chose Ric Flair for this profile on this evening because he is a most intriguing individual, and he has actually transcended the sport of professional wrestling himself. Throughout his 40-plus lustrous career in the industry, without a doubt, we have not seen anyone quite like him that has come on the stage as a performer. He's charismatic. He's enigmatic. He is one of the most sought after individuals in the world. So I'm talking about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Richard Morgan Flair. He was born on the 25th of February in 1949. Known professionally as Ric Flair, is an American retired professional wrestler, regarded by multiple peers and journalists as the greatest professional wrestler of all time. Flair had a career that spanned almost 40 years. He is noted that his tenures with Jim Crockett Promotions, known as JCP, World Championship Wrestling, WCW, the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, later renamed WWE, and Total Nonstop Action, TNA. Much of his career was spent in Jim Crockett Promotions and World Championship Wrestling, where he won numerous titles. Since the mid-1970s, he has used the moniker The Nature Boy, a major pay-per-view attraction. Throughout his career, Flair headlined the premier annual NWA WCW event, Starrcade, on 10 occasions, while also co-headlining its WWF counterpart, WrestleMania in 1992, after winning that year's Royal Rumble. PWI awarded him their Wrestler of the Year award a record 6 times, while Wrestling Observer newsletter named him the Wrestler of the Year, an award named after him and Lou Thez a record 8 times. The first 2-time WWE Hall of Fame inductee, first inducted with the class of 2008 for his individual career and again with the class of 2012 as a member of the Four Horsemen. I'll have to do a profile on them. He is also a member of the NWA Hall of Fame and the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Flair is officially recognized by WWE World Wrestling Entertainment as a 6-time world champion, 8-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, 6-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and 2-time WWF Champion. Although the number of his World Championship reigns varies by source, ranging from 16 to 25, he has claimed to be a 21-time champion. He was the first holder of the WCW World Heavyweight Championship and the WCW Intercontinental World Heavyweight Championship, or WCW International World Heavyweight Championship, which he also held last. As the inaugural WCW World Heavyweight Champion, he became the first person to complete WCW's Triple Crown, having already held the United States Heavyweight and World Tag Team Championships. He then completed WWE's version of the Triple Crown when he won the Intercontinental Championship after already holding the WWF Championship and the World Tag Team Championship. Wow, what an accomplishment. Flair was born on February 25, 1949 in Memphis, Tennessee. His birth name is widely believed to be Fred Phillips, although on different documents he is also credited as Fred DeMary or Stewart, while his biological parents were Luther and Olive Phillips, the latter of whom was also credited under the DeMary and Stewart surnames. He was adopted by Catherine Kilsmeyer Flair in 1918, and who lived from 1918 to 2003, and Richard Reed Flair. I'm saying it that way because I don't want to really mess it up. And from 1918 to 2000, the Flairs decided to adopt due to Kathleen being unable to become pregnant after giving birth to a daughter who died shortly after. At the time of his adoption, arranged by the Tennessee's Children's Home Society as part of Georgia Tan's baby kidnapping operation, his adoptive father was completing a residency in obstetrics and gynecology in Detroit, Michigan. His adoptive mother worked for the Star Tribune. Shortly afterward, the family settled in Edina, Minnesota, where the young Flair lived throughout his childhood. After ninth grade, he attended Wayland Academy in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin for 4 years, during which time he participated in interscholastic wrestling, football, and track. Hot ziggity. After high school, Flair briefly attended the University of Minnesota. A successful amateur wrestler in his teens, Flair trains as a professional wrestler with Vern Gagne. He attended Gagne's first wrestling camp with Greg Gagne, Jumping, Jim Brazil, the Iron Sheik, and Kim Patera at Gagne's barn outside Minneapolis in the winter of 1971. On December 10, 1972, he made his debut in Race Lake, Wisconsin, battling George Scrap Iron Gazatsky to a 10-minute draw, while adopting the ring name as Ric Flair. During his time in the American Wrestling Association, known as the AWA, Flair had matches with Dusty Rhodes, Chris Taylor, Andre the Giant, Larry Hennig, and Wahoo McDaniel. Flair made his first appearances in Japan in 1973 with International Wrestling Enterprise, known as IWE, as part of a working agreement between the IWE and the AWA. Promoter Von Gagne. He competed in IWE's Big Summer Series throughout June and July, facing opponents such as Animal Hachamachi, Great Kusatu. These names are killers. I'm just going to spell it out. Katsuzo, Katsuzo, and Matsumoto, Mighty Anui, and Russia Komara. That's as best as I can pronounce it, all right, y'all? In 1974, Flair left the NWA for Jim Crockett's Mid-Atlantic region in the National Wrestling Alliance, known as the NWA. And he soon captured his first singles title, when on February 9, 1975, he beat Paul Jones for the Mid-Atlantic TV Championship. On October 4, 1975, however, Flair's career nearly ended when he was in a serious plane crash in Wilmington, North Carolina. That took the life of the pilot and paralyzed Johnny Valentine. Also on board were Mr. Wrestling, Bob Brugers, and promoter David Crockett. Flair broke his neck in 3 places and at age 26 was told by doctors that he would never wrestle again. Flair conducted a rigorous physical therapy schedule, however, and he returned to the ring just 3 months later, where he resumed his feud with Wahoo McDaniel in January 1976. The crash did force Flair to alter his wrestling technique away from the power brawling style he had used early on to one more focused on grappling, which led him to adopt the Nature Boy gimmick he would use throughout his career. Flair won the NWA United States Heavyweight Championship when he defeated Bobo Brazil on July 9, 1977 in Richmond, Virginia. During the next 3 years, he held 5 reigns as NWA United States Heavyweight Champion, while feuding with Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper, Mr. Wrestling, Jimmy Snuka, and Greg Valentine, with whom he also formed a championship tag team. However, Flair reached elite status when he began referring to himself as the Nature Boy, in order to incite a 1978 feud with the original Nature Boy, Buddy Rogers, who put Flair over in one encounter. On September 17, 1981, Flair beat Dusty Rhodes for his first NWA World Heavyweight Championship. In the following years, Flair established himself as the promotion's main franchise in the midst of emerging competition from Vince McMahon's World Wrestling Federation. An unsanctioned title loss took place on January 6, 1983, to Carlos Colon Sr. in Puerto Rico. Flair recovered the championship belt in a phantom change 17 days later, not officially recognized by the NWA. Harley Race won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship from Flair in 1983, but Flair regained the title at Starrcade in a steel cage match. Officially, Flair won the NWA World Heavyweight Championship 8 more times. Flair lost the title to Race and won it back in the span of 3 days in New Zealand and Singapore in March 1984. At the first David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions at Texas Stadium, Flair was pinned by Kerry Von Erich, but he regained the title 18 days later in Japan and reigned for 2 more years, 2 months and 2 days, losing the title to Dusty Rhodes on July 26, 1986 at the Great American Bash in a steel cage match. However, Flair regained the title at a house show on August 9th when Rhodes passed out in the figure 4 leg lock, and that became his signature move throughout his wrestling career. In 1985, the tag team of Arn Anderson and Ole Anderson began adding Flair, whom they claimed as a cousin, in attacks against Dusty Rhodes, Magnum TA, and Sam Houston. A few weeks later, the Andersons interrupted Houston's match against Tully Blanchard, and the 3 villains combined to rough up the youngster. Shortly thereafter, Flair, Blanchard, and the Andersons formalized their alliance, calling themselves the 4 Horsemen, with Blanchard's manager, J.J. Dillon, also coming on board. Upon the group's inception, it was clear that the 4 Horsemen were unlike any villainous alliance that had ever existed, as the 4 rule breakers immediately used their strength in numbers to decimate the NWA's top fan favorites, most famously a vicious beatdown to Rhodes with a baseball bat in a parking lot, while controlling the majority of the championship titles. And I'll be back with another video talking about the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I'm Todd Tanner for this edition of Wrestling News Now. So bear with me. This is something new for me, but we're going to get through it together. So if you like it, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. We're just getting started on this YouTube channel. So check it out. I'll see you in the next video.